Hey algebra students, it's me, Mrs. B, and this video is going to be about the absolute value equation. But we have to be kind of quiet because it's about 11:55 right now and everybody is sleeping. So I don't want to be too loud and wake anybody up. So I'm going to try and get through this as fast as I can and as simple as possible for you. Okay, so pay attention. Remember that when we talk about absolute value, we're talking about how far away a number is from zero on a number line. So for example, the absolute value of 4 is 4 because it's 4 places away from zero on the number line. You can see that here. If I start at 4 and I want to go all the way back to 0, I'm going to jump 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So we say that the absolute value of 4 is 4 because it's 4 places away from 0 on the number line. And we also write it like this. Remember that these two lines, straight up and down, with something inside it, means that it's the absolute value of that number, or the absolute value of whatever's inside, because it could be a variable, it could be a letter that's inside as well. Well, let's say we need to find the absolute value of a letter. So let's use a letter now instead of a number. Let's say that we want to find the absolute value of x equals 4. So we really want to know what x equals. Well, if we look at it this way, x can equal 4 because 4 is 4 places away from the number line. But x can also equal negative 4 because negative 4 is also 4 places away from 0 on the number line. So since x can be one of these two, we write the answer this way. X equals plus or minus 4. So that way it cuts down on writing basically the same thing twice. We just write it one time with a plus or minus. And remember that 4 and negative 4 are both 4 places away from 0 on the number line. That's why x can be either one of the two numbers, 4 or negative 4. Well, now let's take a look at this equation. The absolute value of x equals negative 4. Actually, that's not even true. This equation has no solution because there's no number that has a negative absolute value. No number can be a negative number or negative number of spaces away from 0 on the number line. So if you ever have anything that looks like this, the answer is no solution. Like I said, there's no number that has a negative absolute value. Well, now that we have a good understanding of absolute value, let's go ahead and try and solve this. The absolute value of 2x plus 5 equals 11. Well, we know that whatever's inside the absolute value symbols has to be equal to 11 or minus 11, negative 11. Because remember that absolute value means how far away something is from 0 on the number line. So, because it can be 11 or negative 11, we're going to write this out similar to a to a disjunction, except we're not going to use inequalities like less than or greater than. We're going to use the equal sign. So we're going to take what's inside the absolute value symbol and set that equal to 11. And then we're going to say or whatever's inside the absolute value symbol equal to negative 11. Because remember, it can be either or. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out one side at a time. So I'm going to take the left side, and what I want to do is make sure that I'm moving stuff away from the x. So I do that first by either adding or subtracting, then I save the multiplying and dividing for the end. Well, because I'm adding a whole number to the 2x, I'm going to go ahead in my next step and just subtract it. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides of the equal sign, and that's just so I can keep it balanced. So when I do that, I'm left with 2x equals 6, because 11 minus 5 equals 6. Okay, remember, I want to get x completely alone, so the next thing I need to do is divide both sides by 2. When I divide both of these items by 2, I'm left with x equal to 3. So we solved one part of this absolute value equation, but we still have to work on the right side. Okay, well, since I set it equal to negative 11, I'm actually going to be subtracting 5 on both sides from negative 11 over here. Okay, so when I do that, I get 2x equals negative 16. Because I want to get x completely alone, I have to divide both sides by 2. So when I divide both sides by 2, I'm left with x here equal to negative 8. Because a negative 16 divided by a positive 2 is going to leave me with a negative 8. Well, how do we write the solution for this? Very simple. Just like this, if I can get it on the screen. We say that x equals 3 or negative 8. And it's just that simple. So we're basically working out two problems and finding the answer and combining both of their answers into one gigantic answer. Okay, good job. So let's take another problem. This time we're going to solve 5 plus the absolute value of negative 3y plus 4 equals 21. Well, if you notice, here I have a positive 5, or I have, a whole number outside of this absolute value. So what I want to do is make sure that I work everything on the outside of the absolute value symbol first, okay? So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides so that we can isolate this absolute value symbol. So when I subtract 5 from both sides, that's going to eliminate this 5 over here. And then I'm going to do 21 minus 5. That's going to give me 16. Okay? Well, now remember, just like in the last example, that the answer for the absolute value could be either a positive or a negative. So that's what we're going to say. We're going to say that minus 3y plus 4 can be equal to 16, or minus 3y plus 4 can be equal to negative 16. Remember, it can be one or the other. So what we're going to do is solve the left side first. We're going to solve this side first. And I'm going to do that by making sure that I get y completely alone at the end equal to some value. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 4 from both sides, because here I'm adding 4. So I'm going to subtract it on both sides to keep a balance. That's going to leave me with negative 3y equal to 12. Well, y is still not alone. I've got to divide both sides by negative 3. When I divide both sides by negative 3, the y ends up alone because the negative 3's will cancel. That's going to be equal to negative 4, because 12 divided by negative 3 will be negative 4. Okay, now let's basically do the same thing to the right side. So again, because we're adding 4 originally, we're going to go ahead and subtract 4 on both sides. But this time, we're subtracting 4 from a negative 16. So that's going to give us, in our next step, negative 3y equals negative 20. Because negative 16 minus 4 gives us negative 20. And because I want y alone, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. The negative 3's will cancel here, leaving y alone equal to, that's supposed to be a negative 20 over 3. So pardon me, but that is, let me just draw it in real quick with red, a negative 20 over 3. That means we have two answers, remember. We can combine both of these answers into one gigantic answer. And we can say that y equals negative 4 or negative 20 over 3.